Welcome back to another episode of Rethink Real Estate. On today's episode, Vikram and I go into a few interesting rabbit holes that I didn't expect to go in today. It's obviously real estate related because Vikram has run a pretty successful team in Seattle, doing 1617 in GCI, and goes through a pretty in-depth overview of Vikram's life and the different lifestyle that he lives now and the nomad element of where he is. And we go into some fitness stuff. We talk about recovery. We talk about many different things in many different aspects of life. This is a really interesting one. A little bit of colorful language for those that don't find that as appealing as most, but we're just trying to be ourselves. But either way, I hope you enjoy. Vikram has given us a lot in this episode, and certainly looking forward to you listening. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite people from a perspective of only just getting to know him. And I like him because he's probably as crass as what I am. So you might hear a few decorative words today, but that's okay. You know, we can embrace that, can't we, Vic?
I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, sir. But it's possible that sometimes we get a little passionate and colorful words. You know, I always tell everybody I'm not that smart, and that's why I have to use short words.
That's good. I'm going to use that because I just say that English is my second language. So, because of the accent, they tend to believe me.
I'm going to roll with that one too. English actually is technically my second language.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My grandma taught us how to speak Punjabi. And then when we went to school, they rethought that maybe we should have them learn only English. And so we stopped speaking our language at home and we only spoke English. And now I am, like 20%, maybe 15% of our language, because we just stopped speaking it our whole life. And then in sixth grade, my parents were like, you need to learn the language again. I'm like, you guys are bipolar. you guys need to figure out what you want to do with your next kid. Leave us alone.
So where are you joining us from today? Because I know you've got a notion to sort of move around a little bit, as we were talking about as we begun the episode. What's going on? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Medellin, Colombia.
Okay.
And I've been out of the U.S. for now just about 13 months. So my friend Cody, who is currently also living with me right now, last year he's like, "Hey, bro, let's go travel Colombia. I hear they have beautiful birds." I said, "Yeah, let's go." And so we came to Colombia, and I just never left Latin America. And I put all my stuff in storage in the States, and I brought what I wanted down here over the course of a few trips. And now I'm here with the visa for another 9-10 months.
So what's the, I guess, like, you're an entrepreneur. We're going to hear your story. We're going to talk about the success that you've had, and you're in the Sharan network of things, and certainly Sharan doesn't surround himself with people that he doesn't believe are of a high caliber. Anyway, before we hear your story, but how do you, you're living the dream that probably 90% of the audience are probably wanting to be involved in, in the sense that they think that they need to be structured, they need to stay in the one place, they need to be in a position where they're coming into an office every day or they're focusing on a particular area. How have you sort of let go a little bit of that?
About a decade ago when I went through a divorce, I always thought I never really wanted to live in Seattle. It just happened that I ended up in Seattle. It wasn't my oh my God, this is my dream place, because I need more sun.
Yeah.
I need 9 months of sun and 3 months of maybe cold, not the reverse. So Seattle wasn't really like a place that I had ever put on my map. It was a great place to live. But when I went through my divorce, I remember thinking God, it would be so cool to be able to just live and work out of a computer, right? Like, I've always had sales jobs where we kind of feel like we need to be in the community. And during COVID, me and my dad had a business together. That's a whole nother story. But during COVID, I realized that I didn't want to live in California. I couldn't stand California, just for a lot of different reasons. And I didn't want to live really close to my parents either. I wanted to be close to my folks, but not close enough where like they can, I do better when I'm far. Like I'm just like a weird kid. Even when I was like 6 years old, I always had my little Transformer suitcase packed with my favorite toys. At any given minute, I was running away from the house, right? Like whatever it was, like that was me. And I do believe in structure, and we can get into that because I am very structured. I wake up at a certain time. I like to go to sleep at a certain time. I have all my health devices and toys here. I go to an ice bath here, infrared sauna space up here. Like I found my network of things that I enjoy, which is why it's really easy for me to plug into Medellin as home. But I also enjoy that flexibility and freedom. And had I known what I know now, I could have kept my real estate team in Seattle, and we were doing almost $2 million a year in GCI when I shut it down. Like I just was like, all right, I'm on top of the world. I'm out.
Mm.
But knowing what I know now, I could have kept that alive and flown back and then still done the things that I wanted. And the world of real estate's so fucked because it's so backwards thinking. Everybody thinks that we are so important. And I realized like, I was looking at my reviews on Zillow, and like the last 20 reviews, bro, I'm not kidding you. The last 20 reviews, like, oh, and Vic was nice too. Oh, we met Vic once. Oh, we met Vic at the client party. He was cool, right? Like there's no mention of me at all because I wasn't significant, but I was significant in the fact that I had built the structure, right? Like McDonald's, right? I hate McDonald's. Don't fucking eat at McDonald's. Boycott McDonald's. The fucking golden arches. They're not golden arches. They're cancer arches, but whatever. McDonald's, you don't go there for Ronald. You don't go there for the guy that started it. You go there because it's a system and a structure and it's consistent. There's how many McDonald's? They're not all owned by corporate. They're a franchise.
Yep.
Why does it work? Because they all say and do the same thing.
Yep. See, I've got a belief in that. It's like Starbucks, for example. I have a distinct distaste for Starbucks coffee.
Oh, thank God.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Sharon loves it though, bro.
Yeah, I know. But Sharon loves a few things that are questionable. Let's be honest.
Fair. He loves me. That's questionable.
But I think that, the interesting part about that is that I probably drink more Starbucks than I've ever imagined that I ever would, coming from Australia. Starbucks went broke in Australia because of how bad the coffee is in Australia. Yeah, because Australia's got really, really amazing coffee. However, realistically, it just comes down to convenience. I want coffee. I turn around. There's likely a Starbucks within however long. Okay. Right. And they've got me. The caffeine is hooked, So realistically, let's talk about that though a little bit further into your structure of your day, because I'm fascinated with what you were telling me before. Like you're moving around, you've got that nomad lifestyle, as you put it, but yet you carry with you a hyperbaric chamber. You've got you've got some heavy shit. Okay. Yeah. So talk to me about, what does a week look like for you? What does a structure look like? What does the routine look like? What does the fitness regime look like? I'm so fascinated by this.
So wake up is anytime between 4:15 to 6 o'clock. I've become less rigid as I've gotten older, just because there are certain things that, like, I was talking to a wellness doctor and I told them all the things that I've been doing my whole life. And they said, imagine if you didn't do that, what your health would be like. Because I'm in really good health, but there are some things that I still have to worry about. And I check up, like I just got my blood drawn today, and the lady took like 9 vials of blood. Like she's pulling them out and she's just, because when I went to the doctor here, I was like, hey, I need this and I need this and I need this and I want this and I want this and I have this and I have that and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, okay, we need to check like everything. And I'm like, yeah, like I want it all. She's like, do you have good insurance? I'm like, I got the best insurance here for my visa. She's like, awesome. Let's just go to town on it. And then I called my dad up. My dad's a wellness doctor in Central California. So quick plug to Dr. Deol. If you guys need a really good person that actually like cares about longevity and not just pumping you full of pills. Medicate, like pills. Yes. Medicine. No.
Yep.
And so, so my morning wakes up between, I got the Whoop strap. So I track the sleep. I track the recovery. Yep. I track my HRV. It's been so shitty the last 45, 60 days. So I'm a little bit more relaxed on my wake up time. So I like to wake up at 4:30, meditate, go back to sleep sometimes, or just get up and like start kind of doing like my first deep block of work. I'm re-recording my courses. I love to record between 5 o'clock and 6:30 in the morning. For some reason, that just works really well for me when I'm by myself. If I have like a camera crew here or somebody else doing the recording and lighting and stuff like that, then I can pop in, they can move scenes, I can pop out, and then I can record in the afternoon. It's not a big deal. But I find by myself, right from trial and error, that I work really well between 5 and 8 o'clock, 5 and 7 o'clock. And I don't have as much phone distraction or FOMO that I'm missing out on something. So I try to get a deep block in. Then I go to the gym, typically around 6:30 to 7. It's a really good time for me to go to the gym, come home, take a shower, and start my day, whatever, prospecting or following up with people or whatever it needs to get done.
Yep.
And then from there, the day just kind of structures itself. We have coaching calls, we have sales calls, we have training calls and things of that nature. And that's how the day works. But for me, the morning is super crucial and the evening is super crucial. I'm not like, one of these guys that likes to work at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night anymore. I like to talk about business, but I don't want to be in front of a computer because I'm in front of a computer at 5 a.m.
Yep.
or 6 a.m. Right. So I don't want to be in front of a computer 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night anymore because it doesn't work for me. It doesn't feel good. And it's not productive either. Like it's a struggle. I mean, if I have a presentation or something I'm working on, you do it. But like for overall, I want to be done around 5 o'clock, but my day starts at 5 o'clock. So when I finish at 5 or I take a nap, like today, I was feeling nauseous and I was like, I gotta be good for my boy. Can't come on this podcast like nauseous and diarrhea. So like I took a nap in the hyperbaric chamber. So I got in there for an hour, but I got up at 4:30 and I was on my computer at 5 recording content for our course for our clients. And it doesn't, like, there's no guilt in my world. I go to the gym for an hour and a half. There's no guilt around that anymore.
Right.
Because when you're structured, right? Like I realized something the other day. I was talking with a client and she said, I need better boundaries. I said, okay, tell me about boundaries. How does it make you feel? Right? Like, how do you feel when you say the word boundaries? She's like, oh, just so restrictive. I was like, okay, so do you want to have boundaries? She's like, not really. I was like, have you tried to put boundaries in your life before? Yeah. What happened? It failed. How come? Because I don't like boundaries. So what's a better phrase? Because words have emotions and they have a charge. If we want to change our life, we change our emotions, we change our thinking, we change our subconscious, and then it manifests into the real world that we live in. I said, what if we just create some structure? How do you feel about the word structure? It's like, oh, I love structure. I was like, woo, boundaries, structure, woo, boundaries. I said, what if we created more structure in your life instead of boundaries? She's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, what do you want to do in their life? I want to be with my kids. When do you want to be with my kids? Every night. What time? 7 o'clock. Okay. So what if we cut your day off at 6 and we give you an hour buffer from 6 to 7 for you to plan the next day, for you to tie up loose ends with clients, for you to have those conversations with the client that you know is going to call you at 9:30 at night. What if you just do that between 6 and 7 and say, hey, I'm wrapping up my day. I just wanted to give you a shout out and say X, Y, and Z. Things are going well. This is A, B, and C. And boom, you're done. And she's like, oh my God. I was like, and then if that person calls you back at 9 o'clock at night, you just have your phone off. Or what if we get you a second phone? Like you have your family phone and you have your work phone.
Yep.
And your work phone has all of your bullshit on it. And your family phone just has your family's information on it. And then you turn off your work phone, right? Put it on silent, put it in the drawer, put it with your car keys, because it's not like you're driving anywhere, are you? She's like, no. So put it away. You don't need to see your Instagram. You don't need to see that. And you're chilling. And then if the client calls you at 9 o'clock at night, which you can't do anything anyways, you're chilling. So instead of creating structure, boundaries, create structure, create the discipline, put the time blocks in for your kids. And then when you have it in there, don't be a fuckface and not actually do that, because what's the point of having it? So my structure is very simple. There's things I like to do. Saturday morning, I'm going on a big bike ride, 2-hour bike ride every Saturday morning. Then I'm going to come home. I'm going to do an ice bath on the way home. I just plan out my route. So I come down the hill, I pop in, do my ice bath. They look at me like I'm crazy because I come in with like bike clothes and a bike, and they're like, "The fuck's wrong with you, guy?" they love me though, but they're like, "This is a weirdo." I do my ice bath. I do my sauna. 10 o'clock, I'm at home, showered, cleaned up, in the hyperbaric chamber for an hour. 11 o'clock, I'm done. 11:30, if I need to take appointments, because I like to work on Saturday. If I take a couple of appointments, talk to a couple friends, work from 12 to 4, 12 to 5 maybe. And then Sunday, don't ask me to do anything, because Sunday's like my day. Do another bike ride in the morning. And I still wake up early, dude. Like I still wake up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I don't drink as much as I used to. I kind of might be an alcoholic undercover. So I don't like to drink.
I was going to ask you about alcohol, because again, I'm going through this whole thing at the moment where I don't want to say that I don't drink, but I just drink less. Like I'm restricting myself to say 1 glass of wine if we go out to dinner or something along those lines. I never used to drink during the week, but when you're out and those things, and it was funny. Somebody put it to me. One of my best friends is actually going through it at the moment, where he's not drinking for a full 12 months, and cool. he goes to me. He's like, he's training for a marathon, and he turns to me and goes, it's, yes, you miss out at night. Sure, you do, like when you're in an event, but then in the morning, it's just so much better. You can function so much better, and you actually gain so much more the morning after if you don't drink at night. And I thought to myself, and I went through it, and what we do on a daily basis, there's just too much at stake to go out and just get absolutely chopped.
Well, I mean, here's my thing. The only reason I used to drink was to get girls.
Right.
Not because like I wasn't confident, not because it was just that extra ease for them, because if I drink, they drink. If they drink and I drink, the conversation flows a little bit easier. You can get into some different things. Like I may have been considered a player back in the day. And so it makes everything easier to what my goal was with the conversation with her and what she wanted. And we were both up front with what we wanted, and it just made things easier, right? Because you have the alcohol. But if you're not trying to get a girl and you already have somebody you care about, like, I don't know what the appeal of waking up the next morning feeling like absolute shit is. Like, I get it, dude. Like, don't get me wrong. I love drinking a nice $400 bottle of wine with some of my good friends that love alcohol. Like, they love wine. They don't drink a lot of alcohol, but they love wine. And I love chopping it up when they pull out their expensive wine and drink it and get faded. And then the next 3.5, 4 days, I feel like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the purpose of that? I'm 41 years young. Like, I want to live to 100, 120. Like, I feel like I've had a early and late start in life at the same time. Like, I started school a year early, so I was always a young kid. But then I think I kind of took that for granted. And now I feel like I'm the 40-year-old guy that's like starting his life over again, or starting this new chapter. And I'm not, from a financial standpoint, I'm far behind my friends, but from a life standpoint, I'm light years ahead of a lot of my friends. Not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah.
I started drinking when I was like 13, 14 years old. I mean, I did my first LSD trip at 14 years old. Like, I did mushrooms when I was, barely have hair on my chin. Right. Like, so like I've experienced things that most people never will. And I'm glad I did, because it brought me to the man I am today.
Sure.
But for me, like, alcohol just doesn't seem to have a place anymore, because I think I've crashed all of my organs and my liver, and not everybody has to live like me. Like, you want to drink, that's totally up to you. But like for me, it was only for one reason. And now that that reason's like not an important factor in my life anymore, it's kind of like, well, do I actually need to continue to put this stuff into my body? If I do all this, like if I travel around with a hyperbaric chamber, right? Spent like $1,500 to transport my hyperbaric chamber here. It was 4 huge boxes, like putting it together, taking it apart, moving it all over the place, bringing a bicycle, bringing this thing called a Nano V that helps your cells like restructure and fold and all this crazy stuff. I just like, it's a $15,000 unit, bringing this around with me, carrying it all on every airplane. Like it's my baby, right? Cause I'm not putting that underneath the airplane. Like that'd be stupid. I got a nice, like beautiful bike that I look at. Like it's right where I can always see it. Like those are like, all of those are my reminders of, if you don't take care of you every day, then nobody else is going to. And so it's like, I have all these things around and people are like, well, you travel heavy. It's like, well, I'm not planning on, like, Medellin's my home. If I want to go to Patagonia again for the winter, cool, I'll go there, but I'm going to keep this as my home base.
Right.
And last year I didn't have the hyperbaric when I was going like country to country and doing all that cool shit, but I did have a lot of stuff. And that's just how I have a full suitcase of supplements everywhere I go.
So I want to dive into that stuff. I want to talk to you about recovery. I want to talk to you about all of that. But before we dive too deep into that situation, I want you to go back, because obviously we were talking a little bit about you at your younger years and what you've done and what you're doing now. Before we get too deep into this conversation, and a few things that I'm absolutely fascinated about. I love the factor of the recovery elements. I love the supplementing element. I really want to talk to your dad, by the way. At the end of the episode, I'd love you to hook me up with your dad.
661-325-7452. You guys call him, tell him that you heard this on a podcast. He doesn't give me anything for it, but when I go there, like I just take over his whole office. Like his whole staff works for me for like 2 days because I have needles in every arm. I'm doing all the shit that he's got going on in there. So like he doesn't give me a commission or anything, but he's a legit dude that like cares a lot.
It's so hard to get a recommendation of those people, because I've been recommended all these health and wellness people that again, you just don't trust them as much as if that person is your dad. Like I would trust that person pretty deeply. But leading back into this and probably tying into your dad, tell us about childhood. Tell us about all the way your journey into real estate and what you did before that, and then what you're doing now and your venture out of real estate as well. And give us the Vikram, pitch. I just want to hear the Vikram story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't share too much, but like, there's a couple of things that were really pivotal in my life that I think are, have like shaped who I was. When we were really young, we're at our Gurdwara, which is a temple. We sit on the ground. The holy book, the Guru Granth Sahib, aka like what people would consider their Bible, sits on top, and then there's a priest, and he's reading it, and he's got a it's like a fan type of thing where he keeps the flies off of it.
Right.
And we're there, we're chilling, we're doing our thing. My dad's yelling at me, sit down, shut up, don't talk, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, blah, 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 spaz of a kid. And all of a sudden these Khalsas, which are like extremists, start circling the temple. And they got swords out and they're in like religious gear. So they look like they're part of the group, but they're swarming. They're like basically held us hostage. So we're like young kids, somewhat hostage, scared to go outside. The police come, they enter with their shoes. We take off our shoes, we cover our head. It's out of respect, right? There's nobody above the writing of the gurus. And I'm like, OMG, something doesn't make sense. So that was like my first hint that like, okay, money and power can corrupt people, because our church had all the money. Our temple had all the money. And then even like the people that are there, like the cops were doing their job. Like they don't know, like this is 1993. We're like a small brown community in a very country Bakersfield city. Great people. The cops were super nice. Like we talked to them afterwards because I was enamored with cops. Like I was like, these guys are so cool. So I was talking to him. My dad's like, leave him alone and work. Like, well, no, let me see your gun. Like a little kid. I want to press the car lights, right? Like my dad's like, no, this is actually like dangerous scene. Like this could blow up. Like let's get the frick out of here, son. But that was like a young age. I saw things like, okay, things are corrupt. Then my parents sent us to boarding school in India, and the first school we went to uh, was like a really shitty school, but they had a lot of Americans that were converted into our religion.
Right.
So we went to Punjab. There were a lot of Khalsas there. My older brother's like, oh my God, white people, let's hang out with them. They have Jordans. I have Jordans. They like basketball. I like basketball. They have rollerblades. I have rollerblades. Like, right. Instant rapport and trust. I'm like, yo, Pops, this place is a shithole. Like that other school, everybody's got their own hot water tank. Everybody, like they have like maid service every day. They have laundry service. They serve you eggs and chicken. Cause at the school we went to, it was a vegetarian school. And I'm like, yo, I'm a carnivore, Pops. Well, that school was super corrupt. We used to get the shit beat out of us. Like my aunt took her kids. So my cousins went with us. My aunt took her kids out of the school and my parents were like, my dad's like, no, you're going to stay here. So then I was like, okay, even when people love you, they sometimes make decisions that aren't the best for you. Not because they don't love you. It's just because they're trying to do things that they think is best, which may be or may not be. Okay. Parents make mistakes. All right, cool. Check. Remember that. But I remember that I figured it out. Like we had a hustle. So we'd get the little kids from Nepal that would come out and would throw them money and they'd throw us like beef dumplings. So that we figured out a system to survive. That was one thing. And then I was like, I don't really care to learn the language because I didn't get what I wanted. And so I'm not going to give you guys what you wanted because I was just a shitty kid. Like just a super brat. So I told my teacher, I told my Hindi and Punjabi teacher that I would get him sponsored by my dad for a green card if he let me sleep and gave me an A. So like I slept in class. I didn't learn shit for language, but I did learn like if you give people what they want, they'll give you what you want. So you don't have to worry about yourself. You have to worry about other people, like serve others and others will serve you. It's just the law of reciprocity. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't read Robert Cialdini, but I figured it out pretty young. Then when we left the school, we actually left at gunpoint. So I'm in 6th grade. My uncle comes to the school with the head of police. He was a very wealthy guy. He used to take such good care of us. Rest in peace. He passed away in a crazy, crazy accident on the road. He came to school and the gate guard wouldn't let us out without the principal's signature. Well, the principal was nowhere to be found because he was a drunk. God knows what he did to those women on this campus. I bless their hearts if he was a perv. Pretty sure he was. And my uncle knew everything because he was super well connected. And he told my dad, do not send your kids to this school. It's a shithole. The principal's an asshole, blah, blah, blah. But my dad was like, he wanted to make my brother happy. So my uncle grabs the gun from a 5-star general's like police holster. He grabs the gun. The police officer turns around, walks away, probably smoked a cigarette. God, do I know. We're sitting there like the guy's got a stick. This is a guy that used to beat the shit out of us. The guy's got a stick and my uncle's got a gun to him. He's like, kids, get in the car. I'm like, what? He's like, get in the car. We're like, but he's like, get in the car. I was like, okay. He's got a gun. You got a stick. Fuck you. My uncle's a badass. Like, he's a fucking G. You're a piece of shit. We got in the car. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. Right? Like, so like this is all like before I'm even like hit puberty. It's like all this crazy shit's happened before I even hit puberty. Like traveled the world by ourselves, saw the crazy stuff happen at our temple, got taken out of a school at gunpoint, right? Like what the fuck? Like this is crazy, right? Like who goes through this stuff? And we grew up, my dad's like a well-to-do doctor. So we grew up in the back of a Mercedes and then we ended up in like these crazy situations. Fast forward, I always liked sales. I always liked money. I always liked hustle. So I sold weed in high school when I got back from India. I had no friends. I didn't know what to do. Like I saw a kid I knew. He was a bad kid. He's like, hey, let's hang out. Mom should have never stopped the car. She should have kept driving when she saw the kid but mom was like, okay, kid needs a friend because he's kind of a loser. Ended up hanging out with them and we got into selling drugs.
Right.
And so we started selling weed, started partying, started drinking, right? Like when you're broken inside, you look for outside influences, or if you don't feel full or whole or like you belong, then you start doing stupid shit. Well, I didn't feel like I belonged, so I started doing stupid shit. And so my friends and I, we sold tons of alcohol and weed and all sorts of crazy stuff in like high school to our friends. 17, I started selling Cutco, and I felt at home there because it was a sales thing and it's what I loved. And my first week, the, the trainer was like, all you got to do is memorize this script. I'm like, if I memorize this script, he's like, you'll make like $1,000 a week. Okay, bro. So every time I memorized a paragraph, I smoked a little hit off of a pipe. Memorize another, got a little high. Memorize another, got a little high. By the end of the script, I was feeling pretty good, but I had memorized the whole thing as a 17-year-old. I memorized the whole script, and I can still refer, like I can still say, hey, Ben, how'd you like the presentation today? Oh, it's really good. Great. Well, I can only show Cutco to people I've been personally recommended to, which means that I can only show it to like people that you write down on this list of names and numbers. So as I'm cleaning up my knives here, and I'd blow on the knife and I'd start polishing. As I'm cleaning up my knives and cleaning up the kitchen and everything, I made a huge mess. All I need you to do is just grab your phone, which is right there, and just write down the names of like 30 to 40 of your closest friends. And they'd laugh. And I just start scrolling through the pages where there's 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 names. And if it was a brand new notebook, I would just spend like half an hour, just fill it all in. Fake shit. And I'm like, here you go. They're like, oh shit. So social proof right out the gate, right?
Yep.
And I would just sit down and I would start doing it. But I memorized the most important parts of the script, the referral part, the close, and then the drop down, right? There's features and benefits page. I memorized a few of these script parts really, really well, so that even though as a 17-year-old, I pretended that I needed the script, I just told Mrs. Jones that so she would feel comfortable. I had no idea that was lowering sales resistance. Oh, Mrs. Jones, I'm brand new at this. I don't want to make any mistakes. And you tell my manager that I sucked. Do you mind if I just put my like presentation in my lap? And if I look down every now and then and flip the page, and if I make a mistake, will you be okay with me? Oh, you're so cute.
It's just disarming. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I just lowered the resistance right out the gate, disarmed them. And every time I felt like they were feeling a little triggered, because I was really good at what I did because I practiced all the time. It wasn't because I was smart. I just practiced with my manager every day. If I felt that, I would just look down. I'd be like, oh, okay. I'm back. I'm back. And they, we were crushing the sales. And then, a couple other businesses, got a master's degree, got married, got divorced, started selling real estate. And
so what led you to real estate? What was the turning point that got you to real estate out of all of that stuff?
My uncle did really well in real estate.
Right.
He's one of the largest individuals in the country for being a landlord and land ownership, privately owned, like not BlackRock or Vanguard or any of those people. And he's always said, you should sell real estate. And so I was like, okay, well, that sounds cool. Like, I like real estate. I like sales. Everybody needs a house. Not everybody needs a business. So I don't want to do commercial. I want to do residential. Also, residential is like a lot more emotion. Commercial is a lot more numbers. I'm a salesperson, not a numbers guy. And I was like, cool, let's sell houses.
Yep.
Because in a down economy, because I got into real estate like 2009, flipping houses, well, a lot of businesses shut down, but everybody still needed a place to live. So I said, no matter what, the economy is good or the economy is bad, people need a place to live. So it was my uncle's influence, because he and I are really close. It was his influence and his guidance that got me into real estate. And then from there, hired a coach, did a bunch of open houses, got some Zillow leads, learned how to call expireds. And, we had a good run for 6-7 years.
That's great. So it's amazing that just the pure enthusiasm of you and your energy got you to that point, would you say? Or was it a little more systemized? Because, you spoke about being able to keep your team if you wanted to, do the nomad lifestyle. What were the learnings that came, if reflecting on it, what would you do differently, or what were the successful things that you did, and what would you do apart from dissolving it? I'd love to understand that.
Yeah. So we're super systematized. Like I'm I was talking to my girlfriend, and I said, do you think I'm OCD? She goes, she started laughing. she's like, you get mad because I don't make the bed in the morning. She's like, you try to make the bed over me in the morning. I'm like, well, I like to walk into my room and see a clean bed. I was like, like I like certain things. Like I want a clean kitchen.
No shit, you take a hyperbaric chamber with you everywhere. You're kidding me.
Yeah,
Right?
I just like certain shit. She's like, but you're super messy. And I'm like, super messy maybe, but I also like certain things done a certain way. Like 40 years old. Like I've lived on my own for a really long time. And so I just like certain things done a certain way. And so very systematized. Like even with open houses, I learned at a very early part of my career, like more signs is better. My signs matter, not the company. Like fuck the company, dude. Like I don't give a shit about branding those guys. Like they're cool and all, but fuck them. They're not paying my bills. They're not giving me leads. Like they're not doing shit for me. So I went out, I bought 12 signs on a credit card, hired a coach on a credit card. My ex-wife was screaming, calling me a dumb fuck when I was hiring it, banging on the door. The sales rep was so uncomfortable. She's like, are you sure? I wish I could find that sales call. Like, are you sure you want to hire us? Like, do you want to talk to your wife? I'm like, no, I don't need to talk to her. Like their spouse objection was real. And I hired the coach. And the coach is like, well, if you're going to do open houses, like we have to have a system. I'm like, okay, cool. Like you go to the open house, you talk to people, you get leads, you sell houses, and that's it. He's like, no, it's like, you got to check them in, got to capture their information. You got to call them back. He's like, so I was like, well, when do I call him? He's like, you should probably call him like, Monday or Tuesday. I was like, well, that seems stupid. When would all the other, like, what do you tell all the other agents to call? Monday, Tuesday? Well, if you're telling everybody else in your book to business to call on Monday or Tuesday, then I'm not special. So I started calling them on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right after the open house, I'd go home, I'd pop open a beer, get on the phone, crank out half an hour to an hour of calls, have 3 or 4 conversations. Everybody else was just trying to show houses. I didn't want to show houses. I hated showing houses, dude. That's the worst part of the job. Unless I'm showing like $10 million waterfront houses, bro. No, thank you. I don't want to show like fucking houses. Dude, my parents have like a 7,000 square foot custom house. It's super sick. I don't want to show these track homes that fuck that. Like that's crazy. So I was like, okay, what can I do to show less houses? Okay, well, if I sit down with them and learn about their needs or the features and benefits that are important, just like Cutco, then I could show less houses. Okay, well, let's do that. So I try to book appointments because I came from a world of sitting down with Mrs. Jones for an hour to sell her an $800 set of knives. If I'm selling a $600,000 home, for God's sake, I should sit down with these people for 60 to 90 minutes for the love of God and teach them the process of what it takes to buy a home, the inspection, the appraisal, the offer process, right? All of that stuff. So I just started doing that very poorly, but it was better than 90% of the market because 90% of the market still doesn't do it.
Yep.
So then I became friends with these people and I would be friends with their kids and we would spend time and I would figure out exactly what they needed. So I would show them 5 to 7 houses. I think the max we showed was 20, but that was like a rare case. And it's because it was a $4 million house. So the houses were super cool. Like they're super cool. So I didn't mind going to these badass houses, views of the lake, right? And it made great social media.
Yep.
Cool. Let's go. Let's have fun, right? Cool people referred, like super badass people. I got good at open houses and I met the agents that were doing open houses in the higher end market. And because I made a relationship with them and I asked them for help and questions and I complimented them and I went to all of their team open houses and blah, blah, blah. They started saying, hey, Vic, we have this open house. It's pretty slow, but do you want to hold it open? Where's it at? Clyde Hill. Oh, fuck yeah. I don't even care if nobody shows up. I just get to put my signs in the neighborhood. That's a win for me. And from there, we started doing Zillow leads. My friend that my leasing agent at the building I lived in started working for Zillow. She's like, Vic, you got to spend $300 a month. I was like, that's it? I was used to having a cell phone store spending $2,500 a month for magazines where you got no guarantee. Yeah. Here, you're going to send me leads and put my name up on Zillow, which we used to use when we flipped houses. Are you kidding me? Like, here's my credit card. Take it. Every broker in my office, bro, you're an idiot. You're stupid. You're dumb. Oh, how's that Zillow thing working out? I'm like, I don't know. I seem to be at the printer more. You seem to be at the coffee machine more. How's that working out for you? Like, I went from a red fire truck to a Range Rover. How's that working for you, bro? Like, we drive the same car now. Keep talking shit. Keep talking shit. I know the guys that did it. Keep talking shit. Just fueled my flame. But everything was systematized.
So when it came down to you dissolving your business and what you built, you're doing $2 million in GCI a year. You've got
like
a really
1.6, 1.7.
And so let talk me through the learning experience of you dissolving that. Obviously, you made a call that nobody. I often find that people that have gotten to that level of production feel like they're trapped in the real estate world at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They're trapped because they've, like, someone put this to me the other day, and again, this may anger a few people, so forgive me, but at the end of the day, I don't care. Is that someone put an agent who was in Colorado? They had a property that was sitting on the marketplace for about 90 days. They wanted to do auction, and it was a $2.5 million home, and the sellers wanted a pretty big price in the neighborhood. And she said this to me, and it really clicked with me. She's like, "It's funny, Ben, at this price bracket here, people think they're rich, but they're not." And I'm like, oh my God, that's so true in this price. Like, because after speaking to the guy, like, it was like you were talking to somebody that was incredibly important. You know, like he showed up, he literally showed up late to the Zoom call 5 minutes, and he jumps on. He goes, "Okay, guys, didn't say sorry for being late or anything.
I only have 3 minutes."
Yeah, no, he jumps on and he goes, "So I have a rule, like I can be 5 minutes late to a Zoom call. You know, it's that grace period." I'm like, oh my dear Lord, this is going to be interesting.
Wow.
But I often find that, you know, agents that are doing that level of production, you know, all said and done after splits and taxes and all of that type of stuff, you know, $1 million are like the working class people of North America, in the sense that I know that that's a great level of amount of income, but really they're the people who pay the most amount of taxes. Because if you're making $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 million a year, you've got tax strategies where you're probably not paying really any tax whatsoever. But at $1 million, you think you're doing really well for yourself, and you're paying a copious amount of tax, and you've got to keep earning money in order to keep that gravy train going. Right. How did you break that, Vic? How did you go, I'm out of here? You made that decision, but now you're reflecting, thinking that you could have kept that going as well at the same time, just as another bucket.
Yeah, I mean, knowing what I know now, and it was, I was drained. I'd gone through a divorce. I'd ended up in jail, and I had a assistant that was embezzling money from me. So it was my 3 strike, you're out rule. Like, 3 strikes in Seattle, bro, you're out. Like, you had a lot of cool shit. You had a lot of fun here, but you're going down a path of self-destruction. Right? You're attracting the wrong people. I was a Tony Robbins Platinum partner at that point. I mean, I still kept I still made a little bit of money afterwards, not like anywhere near what I was making, because I kept a referral agreement with the team member who, you know, bless his heart, but he owes me probably 50 grand. I paid for his wedding, never paid me back. You know, last 2 deals that he did, he never gave me a check on. You know, God has a way of repaying everybody in the long run. I hope he does well, but you know, like I know that amount of owing of somebody money, knowing that you're being a scumbag, eats at you.
Yeah.
I don't want that shit in my life. Like, I've owed people money. Like, I try to pay them off first.
Yep.
Even though they're like, yo, pay me last, like pay off your credit cards. I've been $700,000 in debt before. Like, people want to talk about, oh, I can't afford the program. I have a credit card. How much is on your credit card? 5,000. What's your limit? 25. What other debt do you have? Just my car and my house. Bro, that ain't debt. You ain't got shit. You're just being a fucking weenie. Like, you're just being a weenie. Like, let's talk about real debt. Have $600,000 in debt and hit up your friend and be like, yo, I want to do this program that's $10,000. Will you front me? Like, bro, didn't you just tell me last week you ain't got no money and you're like massively in debt? Yeah, but I'm good for it. But I really want to do this program. Will you front me? Like, why would you do that? Just pay, like, I'll front you, go pay the credit card off 10K. I was like, cool, I'll do that, but then I'm going to use the 10K to buy the program. And they're like, why would you do that? I'm like, because there's something that I feel like I'm missing. And if I don't fulfill that, it's not going to be there. So when I shut down the business, right, I kept a referral agreement. I made a couple $100,000, you know, $100,000 a year for like the first couple of years. But now I don't make any money off that business. But I wasn't emotionally stable. Like I was an emotional wreck. I was a basket case, dude. And that's why I ended up going back to my parents' house. I lived with them for like 90 days. Very interesting. But then I moved back into the city that I grew up in. My dad and I started a business. Very interesting. But through that all, like I matured because I had to realize that my parents weren't going to change. My brothers weren't going to change. I was going to change. And then I would see them differently. Now, 5 years later, and there's a period of time where I'm 41. My dad and I probably didn't talk for 10 to 12 years of our life.
Wow.
Like just legit at weddings, at Christmas parties, at Thanksgiving dinners, walk by each other, not a single fucking peep. We didn't say anything mean, but there's not a single peep. Not a peep to each other. And like, when I went back home, I was 36, 37. What's money if the people that you love the most, you don't talk to, and the family's like falling apart? And every family that I've talked to, I've been inside thousands of homes, more homes than most people will ever be in. They're all dysfunctional. All of them are dysfunctional. Every single one of them. So I was like, guys, we're in good company. Like, guys, we're in good company. Like, you remember, Dad, that rich person over there up the street, the one that you're like, oh, they're so great. Let me tell you, I've been inside their house, way more fucked up than us. We are in good company. If they're that fucked up and that rich, we have hope. We have hope, Dad. We have hope. And now, like, it's my brother's birthday today. My younger brother with his baby and his wife, we all sent WhatsApp videos and messages and, like cutesy little things. Like we have WhatsApp calls all the time. That didn't exist 5 years ago.
Right.
If I had the emotional stability, I could have kept it to live, but I didn't. And that's why God was like, you're not ready for this. You need to do a lot of work, but the next business you get to, we're going to make it really big, son. We're going to make it really big, and you're going to have impact on lots of lives, thousands of lives, which is what I want in life. I want to have impact, which is why, like I get on these calls and people are like, all right, let's talk. Like, okay, we're going to have you talk about sales and marketing and this. I'm like, cool. Never happens.
Yeah.
Because that's so lame. Like teaching you how to sell is great, but let's teach you how to fucking love your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's super cool. Let's teach you how to lose that 50 pounds that you never thought possible. Let's teach you how to go out and feel healthy and feel good. So that when you go to the beach, you actually want to go to the beach, not like, hey, I'm going to hang out in the room, right? Let's build the quality of life that you want so that when you get to your elderly age, your kids want to take care of you, but they don't have to because you've taken care of yourself. Instead, you're a burden on your parents or your children.
Yeah.
Like my parents are older, like they're mid 70s and they're in great health. Like knock on wood, like, they're in like compared to my other friends. But my dad 30 years ago cut out sugar, cut out cereal, cut out carbs, cut out cakes and pastries, started drinking different alcohol because he's like, that's way too much sugar, right? He made a lot of sacrifices at that age so that now he can do the things and I don't have to ever worry about my parents at this point. I know there's going to come a point where I do, but right now I get to live my life because they made a choice to take care of theirs. So now I don't have to stop and sacrifice what I want to do to go home and take care of them.
It's a really strong point from a health and well-being perspective that I don't think that a lot of people, at the end of the day, we do get down the rabbit hole of the skill set side of things and they don't focus on the bigger stuff. And while I've still got you for a little while so obviously we're respectful of time for you today, is that let's talk a little bit about recovery and some of the things that maybe your dad's taught you and what you've learned around all of that stuff. You run around with a hyperbaric chamber. When I say run around, that's you more so shuffle that thing around. Okay, that's crazy. Tell us about the benefits of the hyperbaric chamber and then the cold plunges that you've done and some of the recovery and supplements that you're taking. I'd love to just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different alternative therapies that the big drug companies are trying to push out. peptide therapy, hormone replacement therapy, pulse electromagnetic field, right? Grounding, sleep, right? But the first thing in recovery is, what are you putting in your mouth?
Right.
Are you putting in an inflammatory diet in your mouth? Look, you want to be vegan for the fucking cows? Great. They have cute eyes. Every day I ride my bike, I look at them, I say, dude, you're going to taste good tonight. Thank you for taking care of yourself. And I always give them a little prayer. But at the end of the day, you eat a vegan diet, that shit has got more chemicals in it than you can even imagine. Well, if your skin's breaking out and you're a grown adult, if you smell funny because you're a grown adult and you have to cake on deodorant and all this stuff, there's a problem inside your body. So the first thing about recovery is, what do you put in your mouth? I don't trust people very much that can't control what they put in their mouth, because I don't know what's going to come out of it at any given time, because your brain is fucked. It doesn't get the nutrition you want. So the first thing is sleep and nutrition, right? If there's more chemicals on there than you can read and pronounce, that's probably not something you should put in your body. We're not built for that. So that's the number 1 and 2. Then you have ice baths, which at 3 minutes, right, you're mentally tough, you're strong as fuck, but you rebalance all your hormones naturally, because when you freeze your organs, all the blood rushes into it, because your hands aren't important in survival, but your liver and kidney and heart are. So all of your organs get the blood, and then you re-warm yourself back up over the course of the next 30 to 60 minutes. That process of doing that forces your body to start rebalancing everything in it. Thyroid issues go away, ED goes away, circulation issues go away. What's the shit that everybody has? Fibromyalgia goes away, right? Testosterone goes up, balances your body out naturally.
Yeah. I just started doing, I've actually got a plunge pool that gets really cold and like down to 44 degrees. And that's sort of the lowest I've been so far. And I've been doing it relatively consistent. The thing that fucks with me though on a consistent basis is that I stopped doing it, because then you hear something that ultimately is like, don't do it after hypertrophy training, because your body needs to do this type of stuff and whatever it is. Like, it just
fucking do it. Fucking do it. So Dr. Andrew Huberman says you need 11 minutes a week of cold exposure. So that's an easy one. Do 11 minutes a week. Yep. The hyperbaric, it's a detox, it's recovery, it's good for brain. It's good. I mean, there's so many benefits of it. There are a couple of contradictions. So obviously before you get into one, be careful. But for the most part, it's a very safe therapy. Red light therapy. It's great for your skin. It's great for repair. It's great for, like, I red light my nuts and my butts. And so like when I'm getting ready in the morning, I just put it right underneath my nuts and my butts, and we don't get light down there.
Right. I've never heard that.
Well, you're going to hear weird shit from me if you hang out with me, Ben. So I use it on my whole body, right? Because my ears get sun when I'm outside. My chest gets sun because I can lay out, but you don't have a lot of opportunities to sit around naked. And it's really important. And the cultures where like nudity isn't a big deal, I bet you those people are happier and healthier. The US is all covered up and they're all fucking crazy because we eat garbage. We're covered up. We put loads and loads of sunblock on. I don't wear sunglasses. I don't wear sunblock. Right? Do I burn every now and then? Sure, but that's okay. Like, I'm not going to fucking die because my skin's peeling off like some old dead skin. We shed anyways. So like, we have to take health super seriously, because if you guys want to be like, let's just tie this all back into real estate. If you guys want to be kick-ass agents, but you're exhausted and you're pounding an air pot of coffee a day like I did, and I was in good shape, but if you're pounding that much coffee to just try to stay alive, like now I drink a cup of decaf because I just like the taste of it. Like, I drink decaf.
I've gotten that point as well. I do one in the morning to make myself go to the bathroom, and then before a run, and then it's all over.
Yeah, like I do decaf, and I'm even trying to get off of that, but I do like I do decaf with I do a latte with collagen, butter, and a sprinkle of honey on there. And that's it. Like, my only carbs a day is a sprinkle of honey. Otherwise, I'm all carnivore. Meat, eggs. But he's like, aren't you worried about your cholesterol? I'm like, I'd be more worried about your inflammation, homie, than my cholesterol.
Right.
Like, I feel good. I shit well. All of that stuff is going well. So like, recovery, like these are advanced recovery things that you don't necessarily need. Like for most people, if you just start sleeping well
Yeah.
and eating well, like you're going to feel better. Like my buddy Cody that lives with me right now that I've been traveling with, I
He's
got
lost
him.
he's lost a ton of weight, obviously, from hanging out with you since I've known Cody.
Bro, he's like, I can't even use these old videos anymore.
Yeah.
But I got him onto carnivore. I got him onto keto. Then he got into carnivore. Then he did 75 hard. And now it's just like, he's like, I got to go to the gym and we're doing 75 hard again. I don't know that I'm going to stick through the whole thing. Like I don't really need it in my life. Like, but there are things that I love about it. Like the reading. I love the reading, like the photo. Like I love the photo because like you do find yourself slipping here and there, especially where you're like in a different country. There's little disciplines that I do love, like the planning the 2 workouts, right? So one's typically like a hard workout with my trainer. The other one, now I'm starting to run up the hills because I'm getting better lungs. So I'm starting to run up the hill to the ice bath place. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool because like Medellin's like 14% hills.
Oh, really?
Try biking up here, dude. It ain't fun. Biking up is fucking horrible. Biking down's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Indeed. Well, man, hey, look, I want to be respectful of your time today, but there's been a great deal of insight. There hasn't been much real estate, which I've really enjoyed, as you said. I've really liked the diversity of this conversation, and I think hopefully it makes people think a little bit laterally outside of the realm of real estate, because at the end of the day, I think that we can get too confined in that industry. Totally. So again, mate, appreciate all the energy and everything that you're doing in the world. We're going to link to everything that you're doing at the moment in all of the stuff underneath this. But if anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the easiest way to do so, mate? Just for the end of the podcast. Yeah,
Instagram, Coach Vikram Deol, and then I do run a sales academy. It's an accelerated real estate sales academy. It's really to help agents add 2 deals a month or go from less than a deal a month to 2 deals consistently. So it's a lot of the nuts and bolts that you aren't taught. And for your listeners, Ben, what we'll do is we'll give you a trial link. And if anybody wants to try before you buy, proof over promise, as Sharon says, I'll give you 3 live coaching calls to see how our clients are adding 2 to 3 listings every single month to their bottom line, and they're closing more sales, having more fun, and doing it in a way that's more congruent and aligned with what they got into the business for. So if you guys want a free trial, because quite frankly, if you don't want to work with me, like let's not work together, but let's have fun. Like, let's go to a conference and shake hands, give each other a high five. We don't have to hate each other. You don't have to sign a 12-month agreement to meet my coaches. You get to work with me, and we've done a $250 million plus in real estate sales over the years. And, it's just like super easy.
Yeah, I think that I can't endorse your stuff more. I think that it's a different viewpoint. I've levitated towards Sharan's training because he thinks differently. Yeah. I think that you're in that same category, Vic. So appreciate everything you gave us today, and looking forward to hopefully having some synergy with what we're doing in the future.
I love it, brother. Take care.
Enjoy, man.
Thank you.
So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.